Hey, I'm Steven and this is Solving the Money Problem. If you're new, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. So ladies and gentlemen, today a very valuable lesson in why you should never bet against Elon Musk, told through the lens of the man who I believe is the single most deluded Tesla short seller of all time. My goal with Solving the Money Problem is to teach and entertain. And today we have a very valuable lesson. When it comes to investing, in fact, when it comes to most aspects of life, but in today's video, we're specifically talking about investing. Psychology, temperament, and intellect matter. When one or more of these things are even a little off, it can cause us to make very poor decisions, to not see the forest for the trees, to fail to notice our judgment is clouded, and most importantly, to foolishly stick with strategies that never worked in the first place or that no longer serve us. And as a result, can lead us to vaporizing our hard-earned money. As human beings, we all make mistakes. No one is right 100% of the time. My personal definition of intelligence isn't somebody who scores high on an IQ test, does well academically. No. My definition of an intelligent human being is one who learns and adapts from their experience. So I'm going to give you guys a few examples of how this can apply in different areas of life, and fair warning, I am guaranteed to offend a few of you, so if you're a snowflake, best to tune into tomorrow's video. I probably won't cause as much butthurt then. I'm going to begin by sharing an example from my own life. I got fired from my very first job just after I'd purchased my first property and my very first mortgage repayment was due. At this point in time, I realized my strategy wasn't working. I took a look in the mirror and thought, you know what, Steven, getting fired from your first job, something's got to change here. So I began reading books, went down the path of personal development, reading dozens, then ultimately hundreds and hundreds of books, trying to become a better version of myself. During this process, I also learned a lot about myself, including the fact that, you know what, I'm just not going to be a great employee. I'm far too ambitious, self-confident, and willing to share my thoughts. I suffocate working for somebody else. It's time to go into business, and that's ultimately what I did. If you happen to be one of the few people watching who's been fired from multiple jobs in your lifetime, your strategy probably isn't working and something probably needs to change as well. So we've talked about how this might apply to your professional life. Now, how about health? If you're watching and you happen to be a fat motherfucker and you also don't want to be a fat motherfucker, the question is, why are you still a fat motherfucker? Now, unless you have an extremely rare metabolic disease, in which case this doesn't apply to you, obviously, your strategy isn't working. Now, I know, I can already hear your sphincter contracting. There's a little bit of butt hurt. People are ready to tell me in the comments I should just stick to my lane. Just talk about investing, Steve. You don't know anything about health. I'm not the fat one. I will give you the solution here, even if it goes against all conventional wisdom, and even if you're going to do absolutely nothing, because obviously your strategy is working so well, just stop eating carbohydrates. As simple as that. You don't even need to exercise. Of course, exercise has its own benefits for its own reasons, but seriously, if you're a fat motherfucker and you've tried everything, you haven't tried everything. You haven't tried eliminating carbohydrates from your diet, because if you did, you wouldn't still be a fat motherfucker. It's that simple. Keep them under 30 grams a day and you'll be fine, unless you have a very rare metabolic disease. And one final lesson before we dive into the meat and bones of this video and look at Tesla's most deluded short seller and try to learn a few lessons about how adaptation and changing our strategy is worthwhile if what we're doing isn't working. This time, let's talk about dating. So here's a really simple question. Do you currently have the kind of relationship or relationships of your dreams? Are you dating the kind of people you want to be dating? To some of you, this may mean being in a relationship, an exclusive, long-term, committed relationship full of passion with the woman of your dreams or the man of your dreams, happily married, white picket fence, children, a dog, the whole kit and caboodle. To others, this might mean having 3 girlfriends. And to others still, this might mean casually dating around with high-quality women, but never having a long-term commitment. If the answer is no, surprise, surprise, you guessed it, your strategy isn't working. Something needs to change. Although in this particular case, it may not just be your strategy that needs to change, but also you. Don't worry guys, I'm not going to leave you hanging. Just like I told all the fat people to stop eating carbs, if you don't know what the hell's going on, especially the guys who don't understand women, check out Coach Corey Wayne, he's got some useful stuff to say. So now that we've laid the groundwork with that extraordinarily long introduction, long story short, if your strategy isn't working, something needs to change. And by the way, guys, I hope you understand I'm coming from a place of love. I'm calling you fat people fat motherfuckers because I don't want you to have poor health. I'm trolling the people that suck with women so they can have better, more meaningful relationships. And of course, the people who don't know what they're doing and keep getting fired from jobs, wouldn't it be better if you had a fulfilling, meaningful purpose and mission rather than just working a job that you obviously hate enough to be getting fired from? So with all that said, let's get into the video. If you love crypto, stocks, and free stuff, or just want to help out the channel, check out these great offers. BlockFi are launching the world's first Bitcoin rewards credit card. People in the US can earn 1.5% Bitcoin back on every purchase with no annual fee using the BlockFi Bitcoin rewards credit card. Check out the link in the description. And for a limited time, you can get up to $250 in crypto bonuses when funding a new account on BlockFi, where you can use cryptocurrency to earn interest, borrow cash, and buy or sell crypto. If you want your free crypto, use the link in the description. And if you'd like up to 2 free stocks, check out the link in the description to WeBull. If you open a new account, you'll get 1 free stock valued up to $300 just for opening an account. And if you make an initial deposit of $5 or more, you'll get a second free stock valued up to $2,000. Seriously. Free stocks? Yes, please. And finally, if you're in Australia, the UK, or New Zealand, you can get a free stock with stake, also linked in the description. Thanks so much for your support, guys. Let's get back to it. And guys, just quickly before we get into Mark Spiegel's presentation, which is just over 3 years old, I just want to give you guys a sense of who Mark is and where his thinking is today based on Tesla. Remember the introduction, we were talking about potentially changing your strategy if there's new information, doing the same thing, getting the same results, not necessarily intelligent. And it's also important to understand whether or not one's emotions are clouding our judgment. So we see here a tweet from K10, super stoked to see Starship stacked. She writes, there's a strange irony to the fact that the fully stacked SpaceX Starship Super Heavy is as tall as Lady Liberty, her being an emblem of liberty in new lands for travelers and weary immigrants, Starship being just that for new planets, etc. Elon Musk responds, it will be exciting to see what new cultures and humanity creates on other heavenly bodies. Pretty exciting stuff, right? And of course, Mark chimes in, by the way, using his secondary account. He got banned on Twitter a while ago for, I'm not exactly sure what, potentially being a douchebag or something along those lines. Mark responds, I think you mean, what a new cult you're, very funny play on words there. A bunch of Mr. Fraud Spiggers Kool-Aid drinking incels lol. Mark implying that Elon Musk is both a fraud and also seemingly mocking the fact that he is on the autism spectrum and has, quote, Asperger's. Seems like a quality human being. Another recent tweet from Mark. How to break every securities law ever written while remaining CEO of a public company? You know what they say, never bet against Elon Musk. Within just 2 very recent tweets, we've seen Mark Spiegel personally attacking Elon Musk for being on the autism spectrum. By the way, shout out to my fellow Aspies. We've seen him accuse Elon Musk of being a fraud, and then make an unfounded claim that he's basically broken every single law that the SEC has in place, without any evidence, of course. But he did say one intelligent thing there, per my shirt, don't bet against Elon. By the way, if you guys haven't already, feel free to check out the link in the description to pick up your own Don't Bet Against Elon shirts, mugs, hoodies, etc. It is my opinion that Mark Spiegel's emotions are clouding his ability to make reasonable judgments when it comes to both Elon Musk and, more importantly, Tesla, and therefore Tesla stock. For those of you who don't know, Mark Spiegel very publicly short Tesla stock. I don't know if he has any money left. I'm not sure whether or not he's still short, but let's go and see his 2018 presentation with the potential insight that maybe his emotions are clouding his ability to actually look at the company and make accurate judgments, because it seems between now and then, more than 3 years later, he's still pursuing the same strategy. Even in the face of new information, it appears Mark is unwilling to change what he's doing or the way he sees Elon Musk or Tesla. And per my definition of intelligence in the introduction to this video, I would suggest that Mark appears to have absolutely none of said characteristic.
3 broad reasons why the equity in Tesla is worth 0. Number 1, Tesla's financials are horrible and worsening even before massive competition begins arriving later this year. Number 2, Tesla has no moat of any kind and in fact now possesses trailing technology in all facets of its business. And number 3, a bet on Elon is a bet on someone who can't be trusted. He has a long track record of making hugely misleading statements.
Oh man, I don't know how to say this gently. I mean, honestly, it is embarrassing to hear somebody talking about Tesla having poor financials. All these TSLAQ dum-dums were claiming that Tesla was going to go bankrupt. Every single one of them failing to recognize and understand this is a capital-intensive business, and in order to reach scale and become ultimately profitable over the long term, Tesla first needed to, quote, lose money by investing aggressively in reaching growth and scale. Covered this 1,000 times. I'm not going to bother anymore on this point. Second thing that Mark said there is just astonishing. I mean, honestly, the guy said that Tesla has no moats and trailing technology. And the biggest mistake, the biggest error of judgment I think that every single one of the TSLAQ folks have made is thinking that Elon Musk isn't a trustworthy person, failing to recognize that he's one of the most transparent, open, honest, and genuine human beings on the planet. I mean, the guy has talked about the fact that he thought Tesla stock was too high. He talks about all the dumb mistakes that they've made in the earnings calls in explicit detail. The only area you can fault Elon Musk is being ambitious and optimistic with timelines, but that's not dishonesty. If you have an ambitious goal and you fail to meet it, you didn't lie to people. You told people what you're aiming for, you told people this is what you're hoping to achieve, and then you fell a little bit short. This is very different from intentionally deceiving people, and these dum-dums completely fail to understand this important point. This is a recurring theme. You have these people in TSLAQ think Elon Musk is dishonest, and then they cite, oh, he said this timeline, and they didn't get there, therefore he's a liar. No, he's just optimistic. This is a really important distinction that these bellends don't seem to understand. I honestly think that the biggest single error, the same recurring mistake made by practically everyone who's shorted Tesla stock over the last few years, is misjudging Elon Musk. Now, I don't understand how people's radar can be so off, but I do have a hypothesis. I do think it is possible to completely mischaracterize and misjudge somebody, their intentions, if you suffer from an extremely dark psyche, you probably hate yourself, you probably have an immense inferiority complex, you probably didn't get enough love as a child, you probably hate the world, you're probably very pessimistic, you're probably very negative, you probably get a lot of joy in tearing others down, and you probably feel like you're worthless when you see other people being successful in different areas of life. I think it's possible that in some cases, for somebody whose psyche is so dark that they exude this darkness, this pessimism, this negativity, and this hate into the world, that oftentimes they'll find it reflected back at them and assume that it's coming from an external source rather than themselves. And my hypothesis is, in the case of TSLAQ, mischaracterizing Elon Musk, thinking he's a liar, he's a fraud, etc., I think in most cases, this is probably what's going on. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments below. Do you guys have any theories?
Now, I know Tesla longs think it's all about the future. And by the way, I'm sure there are 0 Tesla longs in this room because this is a short selling conference. But for the general public, I know Tesla longs think it's all about the future. So here's just a quick look at the current financials.
So yeah, absolutely a fair point there from Mark. I think most Tesla longs, myself included, I was all in on Tesla stock before Mark did this presentation more than 3 years ago. We're all about the future. Then Mark goes on to show Tesla today. Like, it's all about the future. People who are long Tesla stock, it's all about the future. But let's look at the financials today because they look really bad today because I can't see past my micro penis into the future and understand that the financials look bad today because Tesla's investing heavily in growth. Makes a lot of sense. Oh, speaking of the future, since I'm recording this more than 3 years after this presentation, let's see what happened since Mark shared these financials. So here we are over on HyperCharts. Mark's presentation took place in early 2018, around here. Oh, look, it's terrible. Tesla's losing all this money. Isn't it terrible? So terrible, terrible, terrible. But it's all about the future. These silly Tesla long investors, they only care about the future of the company. Well, shout out to Mark. 3 or so years later, the future's looking pretty good. Tesla's operating income, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 consecutive quarters of positive operating income with a growing trend, growing revenue, growing gross profit as well. We can also look at the net income broken out independently as well. Mark having a cry about Tesla here. Hey Mark, you do realize that ramping Model 3 production, etc. costs a little bit of money, hence the losses. No, Mark didn't realize this, but again, here we are in the future. $1.14 billion of net income in Q2, Q1, 483 million, Q4 last year, 270 million, you guys get the point. Now I'm sure there's probably a couple of people ready to angrily write to me in the comments, oh f*** you Stephen, how did Mark possibly know that? Oh, hey mom, can you come back later? I'll come up for dinner soon, I'm just writing an angry comment on YouTube. How could Mark possibly have known that they'd make a profit in the future? This is not fair, he didn't know that, it was 3 years ago, Stephen. I know you TSLAQ people are watching this channel as well. I see your comments, I read them all, remember? I don't just say that, I actually mean it, I read all the comments, I see them every single time. So let me explain. This was obvious, this was evident. If you actually take the time to think about what Tesla was doing and think to yourself, hang on a minute, if they want to make a mass-produced vehicle, the Model 3, maybe 500,000 units per year, and then the Model Y, more than 500,000 units per year, and they don't have factories to build that many vehicles today, doesn't that mean they have to build a factory or two? Oh shit, wait, does building factories cost money? It does? Does that mean they'll be spending money to build the factories before the vehicles are It does? Oh, so you're telling me they're actually going to have to invest some money before the profits come in because they won't be selling the vehicles they've produced until they have the factories to produce the vehicles. Is that what you're saying, Stephen? Yes, that's what I'm saying. So returning to the theme of this video, that is adjusting one's strategy in the light of new information, lest you be a fool. Surely 3+ years after Mark's presentation, Mark has realized, oh, okay, I was wrong. Tesla's bringing in $1 billion+ in quarterly profits now. I guess I should move away from this whole they can't make any money thing, they have terrible financials, and reassess the business and my investment thesis, right? So here we are over on Twitter. I've just done a quick search for profit from tweets from Standstill Capital. I think I said that name right, Standstill Capital, something along those lines. Let's see. Toyota just posted a $9 billion Q1 operating profit, around 12 times Tesla's phony warranty fraud profit, ex credit sales. Oh, shit, dude. Now, guys, this is a lesson. Like, if you're so clouded by your own delusions and your emotions, like, you will find any excuse, any reason here. He's claiming that Tesla has phony warranty fraud profit, and then he's also backing out regulatory sales. But surely this is a one-off, right? It's not like he's tweeting more about Tesla's profit. Let's skim along here. I'm just pointing out why I think a significant part of the claimed profit is bullshit. So if we deduct from Tesla's Q2 operating profit, why are we deducting things from their operating profit? Oh, that's right, so that we can continue with the thesis that they have terrible financials, even though all the data is pointing to the contrary. Jesus Christ, guys. I mean, this is just a beautiful lesson in fooling oneself, in complete and utter delusion. I mean, there's more and more. I don't know how to quantify the extent of this fraud, but based on ample evidence provided by... Oh, we don't even need to go here. If you guys don't know the whole background with Plain Sight, I'm not even going there. I guess it amounts to blah, blah, blah. I think you guys can get the point here. Based on my observations, maybe I'm misreading the situation. It seems to me that Mark has already predetermined that Tesla has terrible financials, they can't make a profit, Elon Musk's a fraud, the competition is coming, and he's unwilling to re-examine the evidence. Instead, he's hell-bent on finding evidence that he's still right, that he was correct, that his thesis was actually right, despite all the evidence to the contrary. It's so incredibly important. It's such a valuable ability as a human to be able to take a step back and objectively look at things rather than projecting your own fantasies or your own narrative onto the situation. Once again, I remind you about the fat person who's tried everything and can't lose weight, the nice guy that keeps getting friend-zoned or rejected by women, hey bro, your strategy is not working, or the Tesla short seller who seems to still think that the company can't make any money.
Tesla is now 15 years old. How's that profitability scale coming along? Let me give you a hint. 2009 is on the left. This is the quarter they reported yesterday, okay? Those are the losses.
Now, I don't want to be too hard on Mark here, but goddamn, he's a fucking idiot. I mean, honestly, like, this graph visually shows Tesla's approach to the Model 3 ramp. We can also see the costs associated with ramping the Roadster and the slightly higher volume Model S and X, and then the much higher volume and therefore the much higher investment in capital expenditure of the Model 3. The mounting losses, that's the mounting investment, you know, building the factory, the tooling, the robots, the equipment, the materials involved in actually ramping up the Model 3 production to volume. It's almost like Mark didn't know that Tesla was trying to build a mass-produced vehicle for the mainstream market. Teslemmings
say Tesla is worth its $60 billion enterprise value because it's all about the future. Okay, let's look at that future.
Hi, it's me from the future. 3 and a bit years into the future after this presentation, Mark. How you doing, man? I know this is a little bit unfair, but it was all about the future. It still is all about the future. I'm looking 2030 and beyond, so we're still early days, but let's just check in on where Tesla is at versus where this presentation was done. So here we are in the future. Mark's presentation somewhere around early 2018. We can see Tesla deliveries up quite substantially. And by the way, guys, as I mentioned, it's still early days, okay? I'm looking out well beyond 2030, so it's still not the future yet. It's all about 2030 and beyond, not today, but it's worth checking in to see where we are today, just a few years after Mark's presentation. So here we are still in the future, and it looks like Tesla's revenue has increased quite substantially since Mark's presentation as well. Turns out that Tesla's revenue, gross profit, and operating income have all increased steadily since Mark's presentation as well. What a surprise. Imagine that. You ramp up a vehicle to volume, build some more factories, sell some more vehicles, drive your costs down, and all the numbers get better. This is shocking. Still in the future, and it turns out that, yep, the numbers continue to get better and better over time.
A massive number of long-range electric cars will soon be on the market, often at prices subsidized by profits from their makers' conventional vehicles, an option Tesla doesn't have. Additionally, here in the US, Tesla's $7,500 tax credits will expire in late 2018, while competitors will just be starting to use theirs. So pricing pressure on Tesla will be intense. Here's the competition Tesla faces in electric cars. The Jaguar I-Pace is in showrooms this summer. It's priced $10,000 less than the least expensive Tesla Model X, and it's much nicer.
Oh yes, here we go. The competition is coming now, guys. I actually cut out about 15 additional minutes of Mark just running through a huge list of all the supposed competition coming for Tesla. Of course, the Jaguar I-Pace, much nicer. That's why nobody's buying it.
Audi has its electric SUV. This is bigger than the Jag. This is in showrooms this winter. This is priced roughly comparable to the least expensive Tesla Model X. It'll be roughly $5,000 cheaper when Tesla's tax credit runs out, right around the time this thing is on the market. Porsche has the electric sedan, the Mission E. Maybe you guys heard about this. Mercedes, its first electric SUV, comes out next year called the ECQ. Hyundai is coming out with a 250-mile range crossover for the mass market. That's out later this year as a 2019 model. This is sort of the vaporware Tesla Model Y that we will probably never see.
Well, this part of the presentation has aged exceptionally well. We know some of these vehicles have been delayed. They're still not out on the market. Others that have actually made it to market, steaming piles of shit. One of them literally named after a turd. I'm not even kidding you guys. Shout out to the Audi e-tron. And of course, when we look at the stats, the range, the features, the performance, the functionality, nothing close to any Tesla vehicle, period. And of course, Mark suggesting there that the Model Y was vaporware and probably would never actually see the light of day. Well, unfortunately for Mark, it's now being produced on 2 continents, soon to be 3, from 4 different factories. RIP.
Again, all these cars, we're talking about cars that are going to be out anywhere from this summer to maybe a year and a half from now. And people own Tesla, they're like, oh, I'm buying it for the year 2030, right? But they're not forward-looking enough to see something that's going to be out in 6 months, 8 months, whatever, which is just absurd. Tesla is already buried in China. I mean, you're going to see an unbelievable amount of stuff. I sound like Trump. Unbelievable amount of stuff coming in China. Tesla could announce a Chinese factory deal, tomorrow, right? And people are, and Phil LeBeau on CNBC would talk about spike the stock $30. It would be freaking meaningless. There is already millions of electric car capacity either there now or there long before that factory can be open, and they'll just be a drop in the ocean if they don't go bankrupt first.
Hit the nail on the head there, Mark. Tesla did actually announce a factory in China, then build it in world record time. One more time. World record time. Yeah, they literally built the factory faster than anything else on planet Earth has been built at that scale ever. Now ramped up to produce around 500,000 vehicles per year and rapidly gaining market share in China. Yep, that aged well too.
Because of Tesla's locked-in purchase agreements to Panasonic, and by the way, I think it's $16 billion or maybe more of purchase commitments that are on the balance sheet to Panasonic, it may now be paying significantly more for batteries than its competitors.
I just want you guys to note that Mark Genius Spiegel here has hypothesized without any evidence whatsoever that maybe Tesla are paying more for their batteries than everybody else, presumably because they have some long-term contracts, completely failing to consider the fact, and by the way, we do know that Tesla's battery costs are cheaper than anyone else due to the volume of batteries they're buying, totally failing to consider the possibility rather than his crazy hypothesis that's trying to prove his narrative, confirmation bias, emotions are in the way. Failing to even consider the fact, well, hang on a minute, if Tesla's buying more batteries than anyone else, is it possible that they're actually able to get them cheaper than everyone else because they're buying so many? Is that possible? Didn't occur to this genius, did it?
Tesla has 120 kilowatt superchargers. What about those? Multiple networks are now rolling out chargers of 150 to 350 kilowatts, all faster and collectively far more numerous than Tesla's.
Dude, this is so painful to watch, honestly. Now, I don't want to be too hard on this guy, but it hurts, okay? Did it not occur to Mark that over time Tesla could continue to upgrade their supercharging network and build out more supercharging stations, which they've done? How do you not consider that as a possibility when you're putting this presentation together? And why do you assume that a third-party network that doesn't really have a major incentive to build out great infrastructure is going to build out better, faster charging than Tesla's supercharging network? We now know Tesla's going to be opening their supercharging network to other auto companies because they have the best network on the planet, literally on the planet, covering the whole planet. This is just, it hurts. It really hurts.
But what about autonomous driving? Isn't Tesla a leader there? Navigant's leaderboard ranks Tesla dead last in autonomous driving technology.
So what Mark said there is technically true. There are some incompetent morons. I can't keep my composure. Who have an autonomy leaderboard that has Tesla dead last. This actually exists. I'll put the graphic up on screen right now. And just because you see something on the internet doesn't mean it's true. And this thing is literally completely arse backwards. Tesla is in the lead by far. This is unquestionable to anyone who understands autonomy. And unfortunately, because these credible clowns have got this graphic, there's actually people that think Tesla are not in the pole position. I mean, I won't fault Mark for this. He obviously outsources his thinking to the likes of Navigant, so hey, I can't blame the guy. I'd rather think for myself and draw my own conclusions, but hey, you do you.
What about the $35,000 mass market Model 3? Isn't that the real reason to own Tesla? Bernstein estimates that fewer than 30% of current Tesla owners with Model 3 reservations completed their orders when invited to do so. Forums indicate that the percentage among non-Tesla owners is much lower, maybe as low as 10 or 15%.
Now, I admit I was tempted to put some graphics up on the screen showing the data, the facts, Model 3 best-selling vehicle in this region, this category, this country, this state over and over and over the last 3 years since this presentation. But hey, let's not be too hard on Mark here. It's not his fault. He didn't do any thinking for himself. He was relying on the experts who said a lot of people weren't following through with their reservations. Poor Mark.
Despite all the competition and profitability issues, maybe you want to own Tesla because you believe in Elon Musk. Just say no to Tesla's misleading gross margin metric. Don't have time to get into the weeds here, but trust me, what Tesla calls gross margin on an industry-wide standard is total bullshit.
I'm sorry, Mark, but I don't trust you.
Tesla fools the media about Model S and Model X demand, always giving out misleading statistics. You know, the orders are higher than they were at the same time last year, meaning like that particular hour a year ago. I mean, these guys are just total manipulators of bogusness.
This is so funny, by the way. I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but Mark is now quoting articles from Seeking Alfalfa. You know, people like Montana Septic as evidence for Tesla being a company, lying about demand. Like, this isn't legitimate news sources. This is literally people writing from their mum's basement about how they hate Tesla and how Elon is a fraud. And he's just quoting these headlines and reading these articles, regurgitating them as if they're factual information.
Tesla's correspondence with the SEC shows a pattern of inaccurate, incomplete, and misleading disclosures. Now, there's a theory going around that the reason they haven't sold stock and didn't do it in the 300s because they're running out of cash is there may be an SEC investigation going on now. I don't know that that's the case. But that's the theory, that for some reason they can't get a registration statement through. If anybody has any insight into that, I'd be happy to hear it. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying that's a theory.
There's also a theory going around that Mark Spiegel is a fucking moron. I'm not saying it's true. It's just a theory I've heard.
Tesla, check your full self-driving snake oil expiration date. In other words, their claims are total bogus. And again, without getting too far into the weeds, they don't have the hardware required to do it. You need LiDAR, which is a laser thing. They didn't build it into the cars.
Would this be a bad time to show Mark the recent videos of Tesla's full self-driving software without LiDAR, without radar even? Probably a bad time, isn't it? Now guys, there is a very valuable lesson in today's video. I'm hypothesizing here, I don't know for sure, but my hypothesis is that Mark Spiegel has a narrative that he's telling himself, a story he's telling himself. Elon Musk is dishonest. Tesla has accounting fraud. The competition will eviscerate Tesla. And rather than being open to new information and willing to reassess his investment thesis, instead, Mark has tunnel vision and he's just trying to prove himself right. He has crazy confirmation bias. His emotions are getting in the way. He's saying things like making fun of Elon being on the autism spectrum. By the way, Mark, if you're watching this, please feel free to make fun of me. Tell me that I'm an autistic with big ears and an ugly head and my YouTube channel sucks. That will really hurt my feelings if you'd like to insult me. And call me an incel as well and a Teslemming. That'll be really, really good. It'll really hurt my feelings, Mark. I mean, I really am a total sensitive snowflake. So if you want to go for the jugular, Mark, that's how to do it. And now back to the lesson at hand. It's so easy as humans to fool ourselves. We all do this on all kinds of topics. It's so easy to have a story you keep telling yourself, a narrative, and then go out and seek ways to prove that and confirm your bias rather than remaining open to new evidence and adjusting your strategy if new information presents itself and it's warranted. It's so important to question everything, including your own assumptions. Never get locked into tunnel vision on one idea, one thesis, one position, one strategy, and then be completely unwilling to ever re-examine why you're doing what you're doing, why you think, and why you believe what you believe. As we wrap up, it's time for a really quick history lesson. We're looking at the Tesla stock price chart. I want to show you guys something that's very important. From a period in 2014, for around half a decade, Tesla stock was effectively flat. It went up, it went down, it went sideways, but it barely moved. There were points in time, August 2019, as you can see here on the graph, where you could buy Tesla stock cheaper than it was 5+ years ago in mid-May 2014. Why was this possible? The reason this was possible is because the stock market was suffering from mass delusion. Enough people were buying the narrative that Tesla couldn't make money, that they were going to go bankrupt, blah, 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 that nobody actually took the time to take a step back and ask the question, well, hang on a minute, why do I believe what I believe? Let me look at the numbers. Let me try to understand what's going on here. People are unwilling to think for themselves, and worse, in the face of new evidence over that 5-year period, people are unwilling to reassess and adjust their strategy. Over that half a decade period, everyone knew it was conventional wisdom that Tesla was doomed. Yet, the data pointed to a very different outcome, which we've now seen play out. Of course, there were exceptions to the rule. Some people did actually think for themselves, see what was going on and invested in Tesla stock. But the point is, very few people were doing this, not enough to actually move the stock price. So the next time you hear a narrative about a company, an idea, some conventional wisdom, whether it's about health, nutrition, dating, relationships, investing, whatever, question everything. Look at the information independently, draw your own conclusions, and always be willing to take a step back, try to see things from the other side, different perspectives, weigh up your options, assess things, be analytical, logical, reasonable, keep your emotions to the side, make your own decisions, and don't be scared to change your mind, unless of course you'd like to feature in a video in 3.5 years being roasted by this guy, in which case, please, stick to your guns. I'm Stephen Mark Ryan, this is Solving the Money Problem, and I love you all. And don't forget the BlockFi Bitcoin Rewards credit card where you can earn 1.5% Bitcoin back on every purchase. There's a link in the description. You can also earn up to $250 in crypto bonuses when funding a new account on BlockFi, also linked below. And finally, don't forget your free stocks with WeBull and Stake, also linked in the description. These great offers also help out the channel. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And of course, if you have any ideas for future videos, let me know. I read all your comments. P.S. If you're still watching, you're awesome. If you'd like early access, exclusive videos, regular Q&As, our private Discord server and more, consider supporting the channel at patreon.com/solvingthemoneyproblem so I can keep creating content for you guys. There's a link in the description. You can now also become a member of the channel for some exclusive perks. To learn more, click the join button next to subscribe. And don't forget to check out our merch store. Either way, the best form of support is you being here and watching, so thanks again.